June 2018 marked the 70th anniversary of the arrival of Empire Windrush and the arrival of people from the Caribbean coming to the mother country. Recently, this momentous anniversary was overshadowed by the unfortunate treatment of this generation by the Home Office. According to the National Archives, between 1948 and 1970, 500,000 people left their homes in the Commonwealth, in the West Indies, to live and work in Britain. The West Indies consists of 20 islands in the Caribbean, including Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. One of the highest numbers of migrants came from British Guyana. They were all British citizens, and although they had never lived in Britain before, they had the right to enter, work, and settle here if they wanted to. All these people changed the face of modern Britain. West Indians came for many different reasons. Some were seeking better opportunities for themselves and their children. Some came to work for a while, save money, and return home. Many had been recruited because Britain was short of workers to run the transport system, postal service, and hospitals. Other West Indians were returning soldiers who had fought for Britain during World War II. Lots of people thrived and succeeded in their chosen fields, though there were many struggles along the way.
My name is Alison Ingrid Williams, MBE. I'm a Trinidadian. I was born and bred in the Caribbean, and I came to London in May 1969 because I wanted to pursue a career in nursing. Recently discovered that I'm part of the Windrush generation. I came to do nursing with O and A level. So I had this impression of this incredible place called London that was so beautiful, that had all these amazing historical buildings and architecture, and it was just somewhere fabulous. And of course it was one of the reasons I chose to stay in London.
My name is Jules Walter. I'm from Antigua. My connection in this area is that I was dumped in this area by an uncle of mine who had been here for about 50 years before I landed sometime in the 50s.
My parents emigrated to Trinidad from England, but my mother is English by birth but Trinidadian family, and her family have strong Caribbean roots, especially to Trinidad. My father is English and he comes from Irish stock, and apparently I was nurtured across the Atlantic and born in Trinidad.
My name is Alex Pascal. I'm from Grenada. I came here in 1959 with 2 drums in a suitcase. It's very interesting to do a film that never happened, documentary film. And like many other people, I came for 5 years and I'm still here. If we look at how history takes itself, circumstances change and you're kept here.
My connection of the Pepper Pot is having lived here for a number of years. And most of the people here were people of West Indian background, some of whom did not like the type of food they were given. It was pretty awful then. So we decided we'd have a Pepper Pot Club, where you throw every goddamn thing in a pot and call it a pepper pot and enjoy it. And that's the beginning of the Pepper Pot. And having lived around here, I thought it was fun.
My full name, Professor Desmond Ian Gosford Hall. My father being here, he then said when my mother died that I should come and join a new family. So I came here at age 12, went to Arthur Tennyson School, but of course it was all one. My ambassadorship came from the United Nations in the Centre Against Apartheid, for which I was a special consultant.
Came to England when I got married and eventually ended up as a Conservative councillor for the Norland ward for Kensington and Chelsea. I became a councillor in 2006, and during that time I have held many roles on the council. I've been a cabinet member for adult social care. I have also been the mayor.
I have been in this area. I have been chairman of the Notting Hill Carnival along the same little area where we are. And I've done a lot of things with the black community in London and across Britain.
I came from Barbados in the West Indies. I always wanted to be a nurse, and I came to become a nurse. I left behind in Barbados my grandmother, my mother, 3 siblings, and the rest of my family. When I came here, I came straight to a hospital, but it was like hell. In London, the people just resented me, but I dealt with it because I would always say we carry the same blood.
My name is Harold Roach. I'm from Montserrat. I came to Britain in 1961. I came here as a laborer.
My name is Ferdinand Maxwell. I arrived in 1962.
Accommodation really was hard for we, the West Indian people, because we had no one really to represent us when we came into England.
I joined the army in Barbados. That's how I came here. Well, I had no problem with accommodation because it was all up to the army, so they provide me with accommodation.
When I went into engineering, I started as a laborer. My foreman, well, he took a liking to me like a son of his, and he transformed me to take care of the newsprint shop, although I was the last one who learned the trade.
6 months later, I rang my mother, quite hysterical. They were rude, they were racist, and they didn't know anything about me. They were not interested. And she said to me, "You came to London to study. You're on a mission." This man said to me, "Oh, you black bastard, get out of my sight, and I don't want you to care for me." And I stood up in front of him and I said, "Listen to me, I am 21 years old and I know that I'm black. I have known that for 21 years. Tell me something I don't know."
My background is entirely different from Alison's. I was born in 1940, said that my first 12 years were fatherless. My mother and my grandmother and all the ladies in the family absolutely adored me, as any boy for a long time, so it's quite rotten. But they all died off, My mother died when I was 6. Terrible. And then my grandmother when I was 7. Apart from my love of music, church music, I also love the calypso music. Wonderful, really. That was my first tutor. I often make people laugh, especially at Oxford, it's my university. Say, "Oh, who was your first tutor?" And I say, "Lord Kitchener."
In response to discrimination and loneliness among the Asian Caribbean community, the Pepper Pot was born.
I know Pansy Jeffries and her husband. I've known them for years, and they're two of the most interesting people that I have found among the many who built foundations for us to come into.
The Pepper Pot Center was founded in the 1980s by Pansy Jeffrey.
I was looking for something that captured my mother, and I think the last sentence in her eulogy, I think captures her as a person and what she was about. Pansy will be remembered as a dedicated wife, mother, and as someone who always fought to improve the life chances of those less privileged than herself. I think that captured her, for me, the person I knew. Pansy was a harmonizer. She brought people together. Every card was on the table, but she persuaded people from that way. I think that's what I would take from her, honesty, but also have a vision about the Caribbean. She was a quintessential Caribbean person. Family, cricket, fun, a few drinks, that was her. And she brought that to Ladbroke Grove. And the idea of something culturally Pacific wasn't a racial thing, it was about, my mother came to this country in the late 50s, as she came as a nurse. She became a midwife later, and she staff nurtured all the things nurses did. And then in the late 50s, there was a riot in Notting Hill Gate. And after the riot, they appointed her as an Afro-Caribbean social worker. And she started working with the Citizens Advice Bureau with that, and had that role to help people who are arriving from this country, from abroad, to assimilate into the country and settle in. And in those days, I mean, I tell my children that when they fuss with me, I said, well, you don't have the sign saying no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. You don't have that. That was legal, by the way. So when you fuss about discrimination, we're a different world we're living in completely. That was the world she grew up in. About 35, 37 years ago, she began to realize that a lot of black elderly people were living in isolation, discrimination, and actually were not using the services that were available to them from the government.
The generation that went into Pepperpot, Pansy Jeffries and her magnificent vision to protect the elderly West Indian person who was the victim, if you like, subject to so much racism within the system, and she wanted to make sure that there was a haven, a sanctuary, a place where people could go who would not be victimized, who would feel comfortable, and that, if you like, is one of the origins of Pepperpot.
She, with some others, not herself alone, there's a few people, I think Bridget Davis, a very key person in that history. She was Pansy's left hand for years and did a fantastic job in helping to develop that. People like Herman Newsley, Paul Boateng, local church people. I mean, there are people I won't mention, but the numbers are great. But I think Pansy and Bridget, particularly, Elizabeth Weiss is somebody else who was there, and also Jean Martin. Those four, I think, the four musketeers, there must be a gender term for this somewhere. They were the people who actually started thinking of a Pepperpot and putting it into place. I think they were doing something quite revolutionary at the time, because in those days, social services provided a service. You came, you had it. They thought we needed to have a culture-specific service which would deal with particularly Caribbean people of that age, with people, and there was kind of a debate going on about, why, this is not on, this is a multicultural society, this is a plural society, everybody can take part, not realising that some people felt uncomfortable. And what was happening, elderly black people were not going to these places, they were staying home. And they were lonely. And I think that her idea was to offer a service where they feel comfortable coming into and actually would then benefit. And they say, well, when they retire, their quality of life would be maintained. The Queen has been twice. And I think it's a model for other ethnic groups to pick up when they're dealing with society. And, you know, we don't spoil it from their heads, but I think that's something you can learn about how you deal with other issues around race and culture, and bring it together and make people comfortable and positive. Pepperpot empowers people.
And so Pepperpot is required to be able to be this sanctuary, this haven, this place that Caribbean people can go. They can have a hot meal. They can have a sense of fellowship and companionship with people that they know and have known for a very long time. And it opens its doors not just to the Caribbean community, but also to the African community, to the Persian community, to the Eritreans, to the Somalians, because it has seen itself as being able to help other arrival communities, newly arriving communities, with the same issues, the same problems, the same challenges that the Caribbean people have had to fight for to survive and to get over a very, very long period of time.
My name is Jem Powell. And my name is Novelette Powell. This is my mother.
My name is Mrs. Eileen Harvey. I'm 90 years old. I came from Guyana. I'm living here 38 years. I came here because my husband was here. So I got married up here at Kensington Temple. I used to work at the Imperial College. I was working as a cleaner, and I used to do nursing at home. My matron sent a letter to the Imperial College head lady there, and when she got the letter and she read it, she moved me from cleaning to be supervisor. To remind me about home, I bring some nice dresses, shoes, lipstick and so on, perfume. That's when your dress look nice, people will watch you. I brought photographs, I brought jewels from Guyana. My dream? All the dream that I dream is that when I come here, I will live here until whenever.
I have always said that when I become of age, which was 60 at the time, I would join the Pepperpot and help in any capacity that I could. I have been a member's representative here. I was on the management committee, and now I'm just a member.
My name is Zenawi Taddesa, and I work at Pepperpot as a center manager, doing day-to-day just a business like all the finance stuff, also managing the center as well, welcoming the members and then, you know, taking referrals and monitoring the day-to-day business at Pepperpot, and then dealing also with the staff. I'm the first person to contact in Pepperpot, obviously, so I'm just doing combined jobs, managing and finance.
After the Notting Hill race riots, Methodism managed to find the funds to put 3 ministers, that's what we call our clergy, into the church between 1960 and 1962, so that they could build up a multi-racial, multi-ethnic community there and be welcoming to people who had recently come from the Caribbean or from Africa. I was brought into the Pepperpot by a wonderful old lady called Jean Martin, who was a mainstay of the Pepperpot. We're colleagues at our church, and she said Pepperpot needed more committee members. That was about year 2000. So I became slightly with some apprehension a committee member. I rapidly became Pepperpot's main fundraiser, and it was my job to get to the borough for funds, but also get to numerous charities for funds. But we kept it going for about 7 years while I was there, and it's obviously kept going since.
My grandmother's name is Jean Martin, and she was amazing. Unfortunately, she passed away this year on the 17th of March, and she was 95 years old.
The most important thing to her was to help in the community in whatever way she could.
She did quite a lot, my gran did, for the Pepperpot. She wasn't just in the foreground, she was in the background as well. She basically was, I think with Gloria, isn't it? They were the Pepperpot Club, the two of them. Yeah, they were the club. They were the ones that actually did a lot of canvassing for, you know, to bring people into the Pepperpot, to let them know exactly what they were doing at the Pepperpot, as well as bringing also extra members as well, and making sure that their members had a higher quality of life and basically to have fun.
They also didn't just work in the club building itself. They go out and they visit senior citizens that weren't able enough to come out to the club, because she was an evangelist and her father was a proper man of the ministry of Bible Way Church of God. So we grew up into a Christian home.
Notting Hill Methodist Church's second fundraiser, you know, all those years they give us probably, but mainly it's RPKC.
The borough, the main funder, 37 years, long time, straight funding. The National Lottery on several occasions funding, buying a minivan for Pepperpot. And then there are the corporate world. Every John Lewis, Marks and Spencer's, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, you name it, they've given things, prizes, all range of things come. All the charities, you know, I can name lots of charities. The Methodist Church, constant supporter throughout all the time. Nando's give us chicken every week. That's it, every week. So everybody wants to take part. I think because they're taking part because we're running a good show.
My name is Bruce Nobrika. I was born in Guyana, South America.
My name is Raj Jogia, and I was born in the Pacific island of Fiji. Pepperpot is a secular center. It's not a religious center. A lot of communities in Notting Hill, the Moroccan community, they all have centers. And Pepperpot is a center for the Afro-Caribbean community. And so it's not only just for older people coming here and having their meals, but it really has a cultural, socio-cultural context in terms of the availability of facilities, culture, the vibrancy, all of that is here, you see.
And I think it's a marvelous conception from Annie Pansy Jeffrey to start this club, especially for the older people in the borough, but particularly older Caribbean people, because we're all getting older and we all need somewhere to go, some community gathering, some place where we feel looked after. It has a caring aspect for our community, and I think It's a marvelous idea, and I just hope it continues.
In 1985, I was appointed as the borough's community relations advisor, and my office was just right here where the Pepperport office is now. But at that time, the Pepperport was at Acklam Road. But Pansy, the founder's office, was just along Thorpe Close in the CAB. Pansy asked me to join the committee of Pepperport, and because as community relations advisor I was working with all the different communities, it was pertinent that I do get involved, and especially on older people's issues, and also the issue of racism, which was still very rampant then, you see. Carnival was very renowned in the area, as you know, and the authorities were still finding it very, very difficult to contain the carnival, which is the term they use. How do we contain the carnival? And the communities in the borough, well, of course, they wanted to join the carnival and help the carnival. The first carnival in 1958, and the aftermath of that, Pansy and Bridget Davis had a lot of people coming into their CAB offices as a result of the riots. And so a special office was set up, and that's how Pansy started working for the CAB. And they would start offering them soup and bits of food and so forth.
Gradually it got bigger and more people came, so we couldn't just do soup in our office. So we moved into the front of the building. We were allowed to use the reception area once a week for lunch. And we cooked West Indian food up at in Notting Hill in the church hall and brought it down, and we had proper tables and chairs for them. And so then in the end we needed independent premises, and that was where the GLC came in because they heard about us. I suppose we must have applied to them for help, for financial help, this in the days of Ken Livingston. It was a great, tremendous meeting of the committee of the GLC. Ken Livingston proposed, and it was voted on that we should be allocated premises in Acklam Road, which is looking over the Westway now. And so we got those premises. So then we were independent. We became an independent charity.
Pepperport came in to plug some of the gaps of the Caribbean culture which were missing. For example, food was one important element, and the name Pepperport itself is derived from a famous dish in Guyana. So, and apart from food, its storytelling was very important, as you know. We did a lot of reminiscence work. As director of Pepperport, I've been director of Pepperport since 2006. I've been director. And storytelling and reminiscence therapy has been a key element of the community of elders who came to the Pepperport.
Well, the church has supported the Pepperpot Centre for many years, particularly because many of our members were interchangeable between the two. Pepperpot members, obviously our older church members, would find a very welcoming home at the Pepperpot as well during the week. We still support the Pepperpot because it provides an essential service in the area for social care for older people from the African Caribbean communities, and we want to support that both financially and with prayer and with general friendship and support.
Well, first of all, the church is very important to me because when my mother died, she was a Methodist and I was only 12 years old. And she was one of the most respected women in Montserrat, although she was a poor woman. Every time a member of the church died, they'll toll the bell so you know there's someone died. And my brother was with me, my mother's last child. And I said to Fred, go home, Mama died. And I said to the lady, you hear what I said to you? Mama died. She says to me, go up in my bedroom, there's 2 silver candlesticks. Take them, put one at the head and one at the feet. That was a Monday afternoon. And I did what she said. Tuesday, funeral took place because you cannot keep it there where I come from for a week because it's too hot. You die today, you bury it tomorrow. And when her funeral took place, as I was saying to Matt outside, the church was full. As a poor woman, everybody respected Miss Beth. And when they were singing Rock of Ages Clear for me, I screamed out in the church and I said, God, may I come like my mother. And I give God thanks today, I come like Miss Beth, to be kind, trustful to people, no matter what people says. Always have that little patience, that little faith. Something will happen good to you. And that's what happened to me today. By getting help from the pepper pot, especially. When I divorced, I had no way to live.
Well, how I came to the pepper pot, Norma, Norma, she the body invite me. She said, why don't come around and have a look? Instead of I stay at home or run around inside, they come every day and they get accustomed to it. It becomes like a second home.
But yet, I used to come here and I used to help out and train as a chef home. I know about cooking. And when I was working in the building trade after I finished engineering, every Christmas I used to ask my governor to give me some time to come over to the pepper pot and do all the carving. I made homeless, and the pepper pot looked after me. Bridget Davis, Gloria Williams, Pansy Jeffrey, Jean Martin, they all made sure I had a home. The Nuttiland Housing Trust used to give the pepper pot 8 flats every year for people who have nowhere to live and a member of the pepper pot. And Bridget Davis says to me, you should have let me know long before. She put me up for a year, and soon as the flat came up, she got me in my flat where I'm living in up to today. So I owe quite a lot of gratitude to the pepper pot.
My connection with the pepper pot goes back to Pansy Jeffries. The Jeffries were great friends of my father, and of course, when she approached me, I had no hesitation in becoming an officer, first of all, on the board, and then she asked me to serve as his patron. So my connection with Pepper Pot started with Pansy Jeffries. One of my uncles, a very distinguished conductor called Rudolph Dunbar, always sang the praises of Pepper Pot because in his advanced years, he used to come and have his meal here. My connection with Pepper Pot is personal, not philosophical necessarily, although I do believe in helping others.
My connection started in 2002 when my husband died, and there was a member here called Sister Monica, and she said, well, there's lots for you to do. I know of this organization that needs your skills and your expertise, and they need a lot of help at the moment. And she brought me here. She said, well, you can join as a member of the board or, as a volunteer or whatever. And she made an appointment for me to meet the board. And when I came here, it was an interview that they thought I was coming to be interviewed, and she told me I was just coming to meet them. And I ended up becoming the chairman.
Well, my connection to the Pepper Pot was I was working for Dial-A-Ride, which was a company that helped disabled people, and I delivered a lady to the Pepper Pot. This time I was greeted by the manager again, David Idiban, and he said, why don't you I have a job as an outreach worker coming up. Would you be interested? And I said, wouldn't it be fantastic to work with these amazing older people and all the people who I met and came to Pepper Pot and found a whole new world which flourished for them. There was a lot going on at Pepper Pot. Bible studies, there was Christmas parties to celebrate Black History Week. There was people coming in to give talks on medical situations. I think we've done a lot together, the Pepper Pot in general and myself with them.
My name is Nicolette. I'm one of Mrs. Harry's granddaughters. Yeah, my grandmother told me about the Pepper Pot. I was always aware of the Pepper Pot Club, and she would help them to cater as well. She would go there just to help out cooking, preparing food, and I guess as she got older, being part of that club, she's done a bit less. She now attends just as one of the other people attending. She doesn't help out as much, but her presence is always there, and she's always up for a dance when when they have a party, she's there, and yeah, she loves the Pepper Pot Club. She looks forward to it every week.
There is wealth in the ages. Speak to your grandmother, speak to your grandfather, those who came, those who are around. Forget about whether they came just from the Caribbean, because knowledge comes from everywhere. Let's try to bottle something together.
It is important for the young to understand that they have to learn from the elder generation. There's a lot of traditions, a lot of skills that has been lost along the way. I mean, I don't knit, I don't crochet, my mum does, but my mum, I would say my gran obviously was better at that. I don't sew. So, you know, if I was to have a child, or even my little cousins, they're not going to learn that from me because I don't know, well, I wasn't interested. But there's other aspects, you know, family history, certain dances, traditional folk songs that my gran taught me over the years, that I actually hand down to the younger ones. A lot of technologies out there, and you know, the youths can teach the elder generation how to use these things, and it brings about a great sense of communication, because you know, as much as you will have your mum, your gran is, well, my gran was my second mum.
The legacy of Pansy Jeffrey and the other pioneers has inspired the younger generations to follow their dreams and help others to try to make a difference.
You respected your parents, you respected the elders, that's a very important point, and you didn't think of them as old once they reached 50 or 60, but you realized the older you got, and that comes from Africa as well, the older you got, the more highly respected you were, because you saw and learnt more things. And many of these things can be passed on still today.
My name is Natasha Jeffrey. My father is the son of one of the founders, Pansy Jeffrey. So I am the granddaughter of Pansy Jeffrey. So she used to bring me to the Pepper Pot Club when I was young, and I used to meet Bridget riding her bike, and it was a place where I know she felt, a lot of people here felt there was a sanctuary, there was support that they weren't able to receive outside. I heard a lot of stories about the hardship and the trauma that many encountered when they originally came here. No dogs, no Irish, no blacks.
Pansy creating the Pepper Pot Club almost became a symbol, like kind of showing progression through hard work, and them making that has given young black Caribbean people opportunity for more education, job opportunities, and a place in this country in general.
There are moments where I feel, oh, this is hard work, but I think about the persistence and the rhetoric that they had at that time to keep on going through the hardship. And that has paid dividends in my life. Yeah, my father, he again saw a vulnerable group that were not able to get into higher and further education. And he ran a mentoring program, which my grandmother supported and my grandfather. I'm in a similar workspace as her. I support young children young families that suffer with special educational needs. And I empower them and give them that opportunity to have a voice.
Now I'm able to look towards going into medicine, which is a job that I want to do. I feel it's thanks to what they have been doing and how they have helped in the past, and the Pepper Pot Club lets me understand that and know the history that we are not taught in school about those hardworking people.
My mother taught us that we could do anything in life, anything we wanted to do, and explore the world, because it opened up your mind to lots of different things and the way people lived in other countries. I've been quite lucky in life. I've had really good parents, really good upbringing. I've had most of the things I'd like to in life. I've seen a lot of the world, so I'd like to give some of it back now, if I'm ever in that position.
My name's Antoine Vitalis. Pansy's my grandma, my mother's mum. What I've learned from the older people in my family is that family is the most important thing. Like, regardless of what's going on in your life or situations, that family will always be there, and the tighter you are to your family, the better it will be in the long run. So I've tried to use them things that I've learned from the older generation to my son now, and I'm trying to show him all his family and let him know the history, where we come from, what we've done, what my grandma and granddad used to do and why they used to do it. So yeah, that's what I've definitely learnt from the older generation of my family, that family is really important. My dreams for the future is just to be as good as a person I can be, keep growing. I don't never want to stop growing. I want to learn, I love to learn, I listen a lot. And just be able to provide for my family, raise my children to be as good as people as they can in the world, do what they want to do and live a successful life. And always keep tight with my sisters and my mum. And yeah, keep the core of the family strong.
So my name is Nicole. So Pansy is my grandmother, my mum's mum. She kind of taught me to be strong and focused and independent and kind of reinforce the value of education and having high aspiration, and was just always kind of a positive force kind of behind me, pushing me forward, supporting me, listening to me, advising me. And I think she'd be quite proud of the route I took. Well, I hope she would. So I work in education. I've worked in schools for about 9 years now, and I kind of look after safeguarding remit. So I work with young people. Dream for my future is to have a family of my own, to kind of carry on the vein and the path that I'm in terms of my profession. I love my job and I love working with young people.
My name is Marcus and I'm a school teacher.
What I've learnt from my grandma is strive, believe, achieve. I think it's something which is fed through to my father, Howard. You know, he's brought us up, me as his son, to always try your best, you know, and, you know, adversity will happen, but you have to strive, and you know, if you believe, nothing comes easy as well. I think that's something my grandma definitely taught us, that nothing in life is easy, but if you believe in it and you want it and you're willing to put the work in and you're willing to, you know, stick to your, I can say with my grandma, she stuck to her guns. My grandma, you know, she had something and she was stubborn and she believed, but her stubbornness, as I said, it's been fantastic for many people and it's given them a great opportunity. But that's something, those three things, you know, strive, believe and achieve, is something which I think my grandma definitely has fed on to me. I want to set up my own alternative provision, my own type of school, in a way for students who, not every student or young person out there is academically strong. For me, I'd like to do that. It's something I said before my dad did years ago with mentoring at his college. And I think it's something which I remember from my days, like my grandma being very proud of my dad and, you know, of him doing that and him being, you know, something that he said that it's only because my parents have done this that I've done that. I think it's fed on to me and I'd like to carry on that whole process myself of trying to do something with young people to engage them in some form of future life rather than education not being for us. So now we've finished school and what we're going to do with ourselves and going down the wrong path.
My name is Taylor. Pansy is my grandmother. My mum is Shaneri, who is the youngest of Pansy's children. The older generation in my family have influenced me quite a lot. I think my family are very driven. To me, my family are quite good people to kind of look up to, and we've always been a family that if you want to do something that's probably completely out the box, then it's fine.
My name is Anthony Jeffrey, professional footballer, and I'm aspiring to have my own company in the music industry. Pansy is my grandma, Howard is my dad. I have learned different things from each of them, but all a collective learning experience, really. I mean, with my dad, I learned that you can always help someone, which I think he got that from my grandma, that I learned later on. From my aunt, I've learned that it's always important just to be happy, be smiling, always have a positive thought and mindset. And from my grandma, I've learned that you can always help, no matter how big, how small, and no matter how much you have or don't have, you can always help. My future dreams are, I want to play as high as possible. I mean, I've played for Arsenal, so I've probably been at the highest level there is possible. I've played with some of the world-class players. I've trained with Neymar, played with Henry and stuff like that. So those are great in my eyes. I think I've done well in football. I think I can even do even better. I've played in league football. I've
got shirts with my name on, which is always a positive. So I'm trying to get back to as high as I can.
My grandmother's taught me to love yourself, enjoy life, never say that you're getting old, and she teaches you that you must dance, enjoy it, and she teaches you to respect yourself and respect others, you know, and family is very important. Yeah, family is very important.
My grandma is very important to me because she's not ashamed of who she is. She's proud to be where she's from, and I feel like that's where I get it from. Like, cause I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of my heritage. She shows me things like, it doesn't matter your skin color. If you're from a country, that's who you are, and that's what you're from. That's where you're from. Life is different from my grandma's experience. Maybe because people don't really see your color, but people will still look at you differently because you're not light enough, dark enough, you're not white. Like, they'll look at you differently. My grandma's learned a lot about our generation because our generation is way different from the old generations. She hangs around us a lot, her children, so she's very understanding of how the way we act.
My grandmother has influenced me in many ways. For example, she teaches me how to cook, how to behave myself at school. It was just one thing my whole family teaches me. She teaches me how to react with certain things that can go on in your life and how to just stay confident and be the best person you can be.
Young people, they need a lot more attention, I think, in terms of whatever their dreams and whatever the reality of their own life is, even though it, you know, disadvantage doesn't mean that you're desperate and that is how you should live for the rest of your life. There are ways to change.
Where will Pepperpot be, let's say, in 10 years' time? Will there be money from the council to support it? As our elders age, they still need even more so, because of mobility issues, they still need a place that is familiar.
Society has changed, people have changed. Pepperpot is still relevant because in the past, people who retired in the Caribbean decided they want to go home. That is getting less and less, because there's no one to go back home to on some occasion. But also this is their home. They've been there 30, 40, 50 years. And they have now an organisation they can link up with when they retire. So it's a challenge is how do we get the lease extended in the place where it is, where people feel happy, to ensure that Pepperpot carries on in this place and so forth. And I think one of the reasons I would push very hard for this stay there is that people know it, and the idea of expanding to other groups to use the area will be something which the council may wish to think about.
I believe that Pepperpot will continue, and it will be persuaded to it. I think there will be a lot of pressure on making sure that Pepperpot continues to be funded, not least because many other authorities, looking at Westminster, looking at Hammersmith and Fulham, have also had to cut away at that specific provision for Caribbean people, but the Royal Borough has not done so and is committed to its role in supplying care, comfort, familiarity and help to the ageing Caribbean community.
Pepperpot is there to give that educational link to it about health and about so forth. And the other thing Pepperpot is doing a lot more about, why it's relevant, is technology. People are isolated. They can be less isolated by using more technology.
My name is Maxine Rattray. My role at Pepperpot is the IT tutor. There's a highlight every Friday morning in that session, in that they're learning something and they've achieved something. And just them sending an email or doing a Skype message to a colleague or friend has been very exciting for them. So seeing that sense of achievement has been great. You know, the future, more computers which we were donated from Dagenham and Barking College has been a great bonus to helping the whole programme develop and in going forward.
And Pepperpot has become something I never thought it would be, almost like a family. When people die, the first people that ring is us sometimes. So it's like a family, a larger family where people are depending on us to help them in these activities. So I think that is relevant. But also the thing about community. I think it could do a lot more for helping the younger people. this intergenerational stuff. I think we can do a lot more of that in helping young people who are going through a very difficult time in our community with the knives and the guns and so forth. We're working on something there, the possibility of having that kind of intergenerational activity. So they're relevant in several fronts. The traditional relevance, but also relevance on dealing with the new issues. And technology is one of the things I've mentioned that Pepperpot is on top of, to have a look at how it brings its members up to date with what's going on around them.